Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Pingispågarna. If you saw last week's episode, it was how to play with short pimples.
Different pimples. There is short pimple, they're half long. It maybe try to hit the ball at the highest point and with pressure forward. It will create a tiny bit of backspin.
And in this week's episode, I'm going to show you how to play against short pimples. And I know that a lot of players, they have problems playing against this certain material. Either it is because they don't have the knowledge to do it right, or it is because they have lack of training against short pimples. However, today I will help you all improve your game against this type of players. So, let's go. The first thing to think about playing against a short pimple rubber player, it is that you won't get the same reaction when you do your serves. Typically, it does have spin, short pimple rubbers, but when doing your classic serves, you don't get the same response as you're used to. For instance, if I do a backspin serve and they do backspin against me, it often has less spin than the spin I started out with. Which makes it easier for me to attack, but if I don't know this, I will miscalculate and miss. Also, doing a topspin serve against this typical material and they doing the push, it will receive either without spin or with a little bit of backspin. Typically, playing against a short pimple rubber player, they have it typically on backhand. On forehand, it's a different story. However, the conclusion is that they like to attack with the short arm movements close to the table. They hate taking the distance in a match because they don't have the control as normal backside players have on a distance. However, close to the table, they're inevitable, you can say. So typically, what short pimple players they want to avoid, it is doing the first attack on a lot of spin. So for instance, if I do a long backspin serve or a second ball attack with backspin, generally, not everyone, but generally they have problems attacking if it's low. If it's high, they can go up on the ball and kill it. This is absolutely insane. It's really hard to do anything about. However, if you do get a good return low over the net with a lot of spin, a short pimple rubber player using the material won't be able to do a lot of spin. However, do not be mistaken, because if they do loop, they have a little bit of spin and the ball tend not to go as much forward as with a normal rubber. A lot of players playing against the short pimple rubbers, they're expecting the ball to come with the same pace. However, it doesn't. It comes slower and often stops. It's usually this with a lot of these anti-spin materials. However, with the short pimple, it does come forward. It doesn't stop entirely, but slowly. If you see a match between an unexperienced player playing against a short pimple rubber player, you will see that they do hit the edge. They get the edge hit a lot because they miscalculate every time when the ball comes. How do I do to win against a short pimple player? It is to do what they don't want. For instance, as I mentioned, the long backspin returns lowly over the net, extremely powerful and useful. And also, a lot of people forget that the short pimple players, they have a forehand. For instance, sometimes you focus too much on what material they have in backhand, so you forget about the forehand. A lot of these short pimple rubber players, they have a strong backhand, and that's why they have the material. Not because they're weak, but because they're strong. It's their weapon. They like to attack with it. However, if you force them to attack with their forehand and defense with their forehand, a lot of short pimple players, they have problems. Also, doing the hard attacks against this kind of material makes it hard to control. Sometimes you can do a hard attack against the material and it will just kill you. However, I have experience from playing with this rubber myself, and I know that when players did a lot of spin against me, I loved it. I can control it, I can get effect. However, when people attacked with a lot of speed and power against my backhand, it was hard to control. So, the short pimple players often like to play close to the table with a short arm movement like this, but they're not as strong as doing the first attack themselves and to defend themselves on hard strokes. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Pingispågarna, including this wonderful material. Keep in mind that my tips on how to play against a short pimple player, it is from my personal point of view. And my personal point of view is my playing style. So take these tips and try to adapt them to your type of play. I hope to see you next week. I hope that you like, comment and subscribe, and don't miss a single episode. See you next week.